So, Drake, we are at a very big number. Do you want to say which number we're at?
This is our 200th episode.
Releasing your inner dragon.
Did you ever imagine you would be sitting with me in this Zoom room 5 years later doing a 200th episode of this crazy idea that kind of came out of nowhere?
200 episodes. Do you realize that over the course of the last, I think it's been 4 years, we
Actually, we're in
have
our fifth year.
fifth, yeah, we have
It's our fifth
spent,
season.
yeah, we have spent, barring your cancer years, we have spent over an hour and a half every week minimum in each other's companies. I have friends with like friends I've been with since like childhood that I don't spend that amount of time with. In fact, I don't
Yeah.
think I spend that amount of time with my family.
Yeah, pretty much. Because most of
Yeah.
our time is spent alone in the same chairs that we're sitting in the same desk that we're sitting in or sitting at, just alone.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, it is. I know I see you and talk to you more than I talk to my best friend.
Well, because we have this thing we need to record. So welcome
Yeah.
to the 200th episode to all of you out there. What we thought we'd do in this episode is we would talk about what this journey has meant for us learning wise and sort of, what we look forward to in the next season,
Next five
and
seasons.
hmm?
Next 5 seasons.
Next 5 seasons, and what we hope that you also take from this.
Hmm.
Sort of a reference back as well, I guess, to our greatest hits if you've missed them.
Yeah.
So
Well, I think it would be interesting. I mean, obviously there's a lot that's happened to both of us, both in our
mhm.
personal lives and our professional lives, in our way of thinking.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, like I would say one of the biggest changes for me, I was always open-minded, but like every other human, I was also closed-minded more than I thought.
Mm.
And this has happened time and again where we're talking about a topic on writing and we're like, you should never do this ever. It's the worst thing ever. And then like a year later, we're like, hey, so I'm doing this thing in my writing and I think it's good. I think it's good. I think it's gonna work.
I think the one that shook me most on that exact topic is we were like we're anti-present tense. We're anti-present tense third person especially. Never
Yes.
do this. It reads terrible. And then, and then I was like, so I have what I think is a use case for third person present tense that actually works because I'm writing in a timeless scene. So the present tense makes this scene feel dreamlike and weird and as though this is the only moment that exists.
Yeah.
And you were
Yeah. And it
like,
works
yeah,
really,
that
really well.
works. Yeah. Um, so yeah, I think that has been a big lesson for me as well. It's like you say like, no, 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 this is terrible. I hate this. And you're like, yeah, okay, but it works here.
Yeah. I mean, like I have ranted about mixing first and third person in the same book forever. And
Mm,
now I'm writing Hamlet where I'm mixing first and third. So yeah, I think that's the biggest thing is that I've now realized there is, I've said it many times, you've said it many times. There's no right or wrong way to do this stuff. It's subjective. But then we
yeah.
had but this is right. And
Yeah.
then it's like, actually, it probably isn't. Um, it's just it's just the way it is. I mean, it's just you grow, you learn, you whatever. The funny thing is as much as I hate third person present tense, I write it all the time
Mm,
because that's how movie scripts are written.
Yeah.
So all my movie scripts that I'm writing, the 3 that I'm writing right now, the 3 that I'm contracted to write next year, they're all in third person present tense. That is the way you write movie scripts. And I hate it.
So the thing about third person present tense is I still wouldn't advise it for a general book. Like I
No.
wouldn't write the whole book like that
Mm-mm.
because it does read awkward and
Mhm.
it does limit your time manipulation abilities. There are limitations to present tense that you don't have in past tense.
Right.
So my general advice remains past tense and definitely for third person past tense.
Yeah.
But I will tell you that sometimes it really does work.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes these places all have tools. They all have places where they work.
When you hit on something, you said time manipulation. I don't think people realize how important it is to be able to manipulate time in a prose story. But that's the
Mm.
thing. In a script, the scene that
Go-
you're writing is always happening right now because it's on screen.
Yeah.
There is no past tense because if you're going to do past tense, you're just going to show it happening now. You're just going to go back in time and it's going to happen now. So it's weird, but again, because there's no time manipulation, it does work. But I also think so if you've never read a script, they're incredibly difficult to read and enjoy
Yeah.
because they're not real. They not a real story. They're missing so much of what a prose story would actually have. And I think that in combination with you write it in third person present tense is another thing that adds to the fact that scripts suck to read. It
Yeah.
is a skill to be able to read a script and kind of imagine how it's gonna happen. I mean, I think I told this when we were talking about it, but the cartoon that I was working on, Fiend Folly, I had written the first episode and I showed it to some of my novelist friends, and they were like, "This is dumb. What is funny about this?" I'm like, "What are you talking about? It's hilarious." And so I did the first 5 minutes, as a kind of a little mock-up thing, and I showed them that, and they were like, "Oh my God, this is hilarious. Why didn't you write that in your script?" And I'm like, "This is literally exactly what's written in the script, like to the T." Because there's a skill to it. But I think the
I think
present tense is that.
Yeah, I think the only reason why I can read a movie script is because I grew up reading Shakespeare, which
Hmm.
is essentially a play script, which is,
Yep.
yeah, much the same.
Yep.
Because what you have in the script is the dialogue and the very barest kind of suggestion of what the scene is going to be, because that's all visual.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, it is. So yeah,
yeah.
I think that's my biggest. I mean, it's not the only thing I've learned, but
Mm.
that's the one that I feel like has impacted me more than anything else is that I've just really come to the point where I just don't say, don't ever do this.
Mm.
I will say, as a reader, I don't like reading this,
Mm.
or, as a writer, this is going to limit you in this way, but it's it's crazy how much of this really, I mean, even like I've changed my point of view class drastically because of some things. Because yes, I write and you write in a much more tight, limited fashion. It's more immersive, it's more whatever.
Mm.
But there are stories that are actually benefited by an omniscient,
Yeah.
narrator or whatever. And so I've really grown to start to appreciate the writing tools that are out there that we can use that as a reader I don't appreciate.
Yes.
So
Yeah. Yeah, same. Like I think that we've both learned a lot in that aspect of like actually um there are things that are better for using XYZ tool. And I will also say like some of that has also come from, doing a lot of critiques
mhm.
and doing critiques with random people on the internet sending us their critique chapters. By the way, if you want us to critique your work, 1,000 words to Releasing Your Inner Dragon. And we will critique it for you. But I think that is a big lesson, is
Yeah.
that process, um, and critiquing together and kind of learning from learning not just from the work but also from like each other and so on. Like I
I
think
mean,
that has also been a great
it's
exercise as well. And like like what you just said about the POVs and so on. Now, I famously don't like flashbacks, but I recently read a story where I really appreciated the non-linear storytelling. Because what what the author did was they had a story set in the past of the character that was written in third person, the present tense storyline, which was written in first person, and a future story that was written in third person but with a different name. Okay, and it worked. And at the end, all of the storylines kind of come together, right?
Yeah.
For a conclusion. And you find out what's been happening in all of them and where we are now. And then you get the conclusion in first person. And it was really well done and it really worked. But those kinds of stories are also rare. So
Yeah.
so
Yeah. Because I'm reading. I'm
my
reading something
general
right.
my
Go ahead.
general statement is always like, don't do flashbacks, but they are useful at times. Like, I'm not saying completely, but you know.
Well, and the problem is that most writers write and they think, well, this is my cool idea, so I'm going to do it. And they don't think
Mm,
about the reader. So, like, I'm reading a book right now. Great book. I'm actually really, really enjoying it. I don't want to say what it is because I'm about to kind of ping it a little bit. But it starts off and it was like, we're prepared for this battle. Here comes the monster. And then it goes, now we've been practicing this thing, for the last 6 hours. And what we did during practice was we did this and we did this and we did this. And then someone said this, and then this happened. And then, but all of that. And now here we are, and we're facing the monster. And it's like, why even start with the we're facing the monster? Like,
yeah,
it did nothing for the scene. Just
yeah.
start off with, we spent the next 6 hours, practicing our plan. This person did that, and this person did this, and we did this, and this, and this, and this. And because they didn't give away what the plan was when they did the
Mm,
flashback, but literally they had like 2 paragraphs of in the now, and then a page and a half of 6 hours ago, and then right back into the now. And it's like, I see why you thought that was a good idea, but that's just not fair to your reader. Like, it
yeah,
doesn't do you making your reader do this herky jerky back and forth, but they don't gain anything from it.
yeah,
There's no payoff. I say that all the time in the writer's room.
yeah,
If you're going to do this thing, what's the payoff? Like,
yeah.
you're going to make the reader suffer through this crappy thing.
Mm,
At the end of it, they have to go, oh my goodness, I am so
yeah.
happy I read this crappy thing because this is now even more enjoyable for me.
See, the reason why that triune storyline worked was because the different name one, the future one, you were like, okay, how did she get here? And the present tense tells you that. But at the same time, you're like, okay, this future is weird. How is she going to get out? Because she's in a very strange situation there. Right. So you've got these two parallel investigations running, what's going on in the present tense, which you know is going to end with the future tense, but you're like, how do we make this dot
Right.
connect?
Yep.
So there's a mystery there. And then there's the how is she going to get out of this? And so they strengthen each other. And the flashbacks just help to basically explain who she is and so on. And they start quite late when you're already invested.
Right.
And
Yeah.
each one is a scene.
But how
So
many episodes have we done on flashbacks? At least
many.
a half a
Because
dozen.
there is so many ways to do flashbacks poorly.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so few to do them right.
Yeah. And you know what? That is actually a great point of another thing. Talking about this stuff and talking through this, like you mentioned in the pre-show, you were like, well, like you didn't have your 12 layers of interiority that you're writing a book on now. And I'm like, yeah, because one of the things about, I've always run a critique group in my house. Now I do the writer's room online. It's open to everybody. That has probably helped me become a better writer than any other aspect of what I've done over the last 20, 25, 30 years. Because when you're forced to figure out how to explain something to somebody in a way that they understand it, like, it took me probably 3 years to figure out how to describe, the way I describe how to use inner monologue now. And it's because I had a student that was like, she used inner monologue incorrectly. And I was like, no, let me explain it to you. And she was like, I don't understand. And I was like, oh, okay, it's like this. I don't understand. Okay, it's like this. And now this was years, this was I explained it. She's like, oh, okay. And then she'd go and write it and she'd bring it back and it didn't work. And I was like, okay, let me tackle this in a different angle. And it took about 3 years of, probably once every 6 months having to try and explain my interpretation on the best way to use inner monologue until I finally figured out a way. She was like, oh, that makes sense. And so it just helped me now. And now I explain it that way. And that way tends to help everybody. But having to figure out how to teach it, which is what we do on here.
Yeah. I think and this is one of the things that I have had every single skill, every martial art I've ever participated in, they all say the same thing. You reach a point where the only way to learn more is to teach.
Is to teach.
And I know that there's this stupid saying of like those who can't do teach, which is a really dumb saying in my opinion.
It is.
But teaching actually teaches the teacher, because I found this especially when I was writing world building blueprints, my world building book on Kickstarter. If you haven't backed it yet,
it might be over. By the time
it'll still be open for late pledges
right,
until
of course.
the book actually goes to
to
the
say.
printer. So
yeah, that's what I was about to say.
yeah, the main one will probably be over, but there will still be late pledges. So what that book taught me was how to put my world building process into a structure that somebody else could use, that somebody else can replicate. Because I just it was hard to take what I do kind of on instinct and make it a framework.
Yeah. My pithy proverb for people who say pithy proverbs, like those who, can't do teach, is those who make up pithy proverbs probably don't know what the crap they're talking about.
Yeah.
Just my pithy talk. Because I mean, that's the thing. I'm not a teacher. My wife was a professional teacher for 20 years. I'm not. This is not natural for me to try and figure out how. I mean, I'm barely educated. Like, I shouldn't be teaching it. I have a remedial 9th grade English education. So it's not natural for me to do this stuff. But it is literally the thing that has made me the writer that I am today. Yeah. I mean, when I had all my health issues, I couldn't write creative writing. I mean, I spent like 7 years without writing. I wrote maybe 3 short stories during those 7 years, but I wrote 3 creative writing novels because I was writing them on rote, whatever, but I'm still just thinking about writing. There was a, I can't remember the full details, so I'm probably going to get a lot wrong, but there was this experiment where they took, I want to say 50 kids that had never really played basketball. And they took 25 of them, and every day for an hour, they would go to the court and they would practice free throws just for an hour. And the other 25 every day would sit down and think about practicing free throws. They would just imagine the ball and imagine the ball. And after whatever time it was, the people who never touched a basketball actually had, because everybody threw in whatever, and then they did the test later. The ones who just thought about playing basketball improved more than the ones who actually were doing it. So there is something to be said about the human brain.
Yeah. One of the things that I've actually started doing, so previously, I used to listen to a podcast or whatever while I was running. And I just, like, this year, I've actually started doing what people call silent running or unplugged running, where I don't listen to anything. I just run, just with my own thoughts. And I've actually found that it has massively improved my ability to put words onto the page in terms of writing. It's done a lot for like my ability to churn out videos, all of those things. And I think a lot of that is just having a fixed time of day where I am just by myself and it's just my thoughts.
Yeah. I can't tell you how many times I've come up with a solution for a problem that I'm having in the shower.
Mm.
Because you're not thinking about anything in the shower. Like I mean, I've taken, after now 56 years around the sun, I've taken a lot of showers.
Yeah.
And I don't think about, it's just the steps just go through it. But yeah, I mean, it's been a long time since I ran. I mean, I'm trying to walk 2, 3, 4 miles a day, but I used to run 12 miles a day and run 6 miles in the morning and 6 miles at night. And I don't think I could have listened to anything, because the one thing for me and being able to run longer distances was I just fell into my breathing. And it was always a, huff, 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 breathe, huff, 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 breathe. And each one of those is another step. It's the foot hitting the ground. And so my mind would just fall into this incredibly rote boom, 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 boom. And then the pain in my side, or the desire to quit and all that would fade away, because there was nothing in the world but my foot hitting 4 times and me going, in, out, in, out, in, out. And I just got into this rote. But it's why I could do what I did. But again, that was back when I was both in the Marine Corps and right out of the Marine Corps, and heck of a lot better shape and 30 years younger. And
look, I can't run 6 miles. I run like 2, I think. maybe 2.5.
I'm not sure I could run 2 anymore. I mean, I'm walking a lot, and I just don't feel like running. I don't feel like I need to run at my age, and I just need to get moving, and I just need to keep doing stuff.
The Peanut Gallery asked a interesting question. How do you find or reach the balance of interiority in your stories without disrupting the pace or having it read like a screenplay? So,
well, let me say one thing first. There's no interiority in a screenplay. So if you have interiority, it's not going to read like a screenplay. So that throws that out. But did you want to answer? You want me to?
Well, unless what the Peanut Gallery meant was either you're disrupting the pace because you're putting a lot of interiority in, or it reads like a screenplay because there's none.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and that he did confirm that.
Okay, so that being the case, like I think, okay, so there's a couple of things. The first is, it depends a little bit on what is going on around you, right? The interiority you write in a fight scene is different from the interiority you write in a tense scene. Like, for example, I actually wrote a piece this very day about the 2 characters are in a tunnel, and they're going down this like really dodgy tunnel with no light that doesn't have any entrances. They came in here with magic, right? And the main POV, Mahin, is like so nervous about it. So I wrote this piece with like, and they're just going down the paragraph where it's like their slow rhythmic throbbing made his skin crawl as badly as the insects that raced away from their light. Mahin refused to think about the same insects scuttling back after their light had passed, gathering behind them. No, he wouldn't think about it. And then then it goes on. So you can add a lot more in that moment where you're thinking like, you're putting in all those interiority things. He's imagining a future where there's like this horde of insects behind them, ready to assault his back out of the light and all the rest of that. Very, very different from like a fight scene where it's like spear, move, act, ouch, hurt,
Yeah.
Like.
Well, for me, I just read a story before the one I'm reading now. It was actually a friend of mine. It's a tie-in piece. Again, I'm going to not say anything. It was fun. The writing was fine. He's a good, solid writer, but there was literally almost no interiority. So one of the bad things for me about no interiority, not only do you not connect deeply with the characters and really understand their motivation and their desires and root for them at that really deep human level, it hurts pacing. because it's just this breakneck speed when everything is factual. Here's what things look like. Here's what things are doing. Here's what's happening. Here's what things look like. Here's what's doing. Here's what, here's what they're saying. Here's what, it's just this insane speed. And you can't do stuff where you're actually forcing the reader to feel things. So like I had somebody in the writers group, had this scene where the characters were floating down this river, and the line said, and then they took a moment to really appreciate whatever. And I'm butchering it because it was too long. I don't remember exactly what it was. But then it went, quote, and somebody said something. And I'm like, so they didn't take a second to appreciate anything. They literally just talked right over it. And they were like, what do you mean? I was like, well, give me 2 paragraphs of the river just silently floating and the bank going by and maybe a bird in the sky. Then the reader must take a moment to actually appreciate what they're seeing. If you're going to say that in a story, you're just telling them. Show them that, and then also that forces them to take that moment. So like even in a fight scene, like in the big fight scene that is the first big fight scene of Genesis with the lion dude in the arena, there are at least 4 plateaus where you hit, and not even just between the fights, like during the fights, there'll be this moment where the two take a step back, and then there's some interiority, there's some whatever, there's some looking around, because it builds the tension. It does all sorts. Now, I'm not going to watch the river lazily go by when I'm in the middle of a fight. It's going to be something different, but
Yeah.
it still controls that pacing of, we're beating the crap out of each other. Now we're taking a breath and we're trying to assess our situation and how are we going to do this now? And then we're going to, so there's that, and all that can come from interiority.
And
That's the big thing about it.
Yeah, that was kind of my point with like the fight scene. The difference with the fight scenes is your interiority is at pace with a fight scene. It's
Yeah.
briefer, harder stops. Like I would never in a fight scene write something as long as him imagining insects crawling up behind him and his spine
Right.
wanting to crawl out his back. Like that's
Right.
not a fight scene interiority. A fight
Right.
scene interiority would be, I'm going to die, something like that. Like
or holy cow, this guy's tougher than I thought, or
yeah,
what's going to happen to my loved ones if I don't make it through this, or
yeah.
I,
I've got to make it.
right, or the person that I'm trying to save is going to suffer horribly or whatever.
Yeah.
So we're gonna focus on that moment, but the point is, it's not even just doing that. It's about controlling the pacing. It's about the clash. Take a moment. Clash. Take a moment. Like sometimes I don't do that. Sometimes there's just fight, 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 fight. But it just depends on the situation. It depends on everything.
It's also what you prioritize. So him saying about movies just brought back to me how much I enjoyed Superman 2025. Because in Superman, there's this huge fight scene, right? And well, I mean, there's a lot of fight scenes, right? It's a comic book hero. But Superman, every time he throws a punch, he's also there making sure the monster doesn't fall over onto an apartment building. Or he's there blocking a fire strike on people, or he's there protecting a little girl from like getting hit from fallout from the fight, or he's there saving a squirrel, which was amazing, right? So his interiority, like speaking of movie interiority, you can also have interiority in actions. You can see Superman's reverence for life and his willingness to save it in every fight action that he takes.
Yeah.
And that too is a form of interiority, right? It's a living the motivation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So hopefully that answers the question. Although that puts us back into teaching mode and not into
Reflecting.
what have we done over the last years? Yeah, I mean, we did a lot. You had mentioned this earlier. We, outside of the 5 or 6 months that I was just completely destroyed with cancer treatment. By the way, I did give that a 1 star. I do not recommend anybody go through it. If you're thinking about it, just pass. Just don't get cancer. It sucks. But that is one thing that we went through, and that was actually closer to the beginning, where it was like, I hate to tell you this, but I'm going to now miss a massive swath of time. But we had a bunch of episodes in the can. We've never actually recovered from that. We always have like 4, 5, 6 episodes now in the can. Back then we had like 30. So, and that's the only thing that got us through that hump. We only missed 1 week.
Yeah, we missed like 3 or 4 weeks, but yeah, we missed a very small period.
Yeah, I was out, so I don't remember
Yeah.
exactly what it was. But yeah, we just because we were so far ahead is what got us through that. But
to be
yeah,
fair, we also prepped. Like when you said I'm going to go into chemo, we were like, okay, we're going to record 2 a day religiously for like 8
yes,
months.
yeah, wasn't quite that long because I only had like 3 months between when I was diagnosed with cancer, which was until I went into. But we did. We focused on. We really pound out some episodes to make sure that we were covered during that time. But there was that. There was. I mean, there's just been so much. We wrote a book together.
Yep. We actually wrote 2. We just have to get around to editing Magic
Right.
Fall 2,
Yeah.
Skies of Destiny 2.
I've
I
actually
met
had
you.
this year during the convention season when I was at Comic-Con and Gen Con and all that, I had more than one person come up and going, I'm still waiting for a second one of these. This was really good. So we just haven't done any marketing on it. We haven't done anything. And actually, hopefully that's going to change because I've got some things in the works.
Everybody who's read it has given me really great feedback on Magic
Yeah.
Fall. Like they've really enjoyed it. So, honestly, if you like want to read a cool science fantasy, like read
Yeah.
Magic Fall. But
it's just very different from what me and you normally write.
Yeah.
Which is why we wrote it.
Yeah. But yeah, and then of course I came to Comic-Con. I came to the United States and we met up and yeah, so I mean we've done quite a lot this past. But I think for me, my biggest growth area has been a lot in interiority. Like learning not just how to put emotions onto the page, but how to put motivations onto the page, how to put thinking of like thinking of nervous things of the future, stuff like that. Like that whole like imagining the insects coming up behind him wasn't a piece of interiority I would necessarily have thought of previously, because it's not instinctive to go like, yes, I should put in here what he imagines is going to happen because that will increase the reader's interiority of this moment. But it is a very effective way, especially in a horror scenario, in like a scenario with that kind of nervous tension and so on, where you can build tension with it because the character's fear becomes the reader's fear of like, oh my goodness, what if I'm in this tunnel and there's like no light and there's all these insects and kind of like, yeah. So yeah, that has been my biggest learning curve as a writer, has been that increased interiority and how to put it on the page.
Yeah.
Beyond just kind of like instinct, to have a structure and a thought process behind it.
Yeah. I think, and this isn't something I learned doing this, but it definitely is something that has been driven home. Consistency beats inspiration. So, I mean, it took us 4 years to hit 1,000 subscribers. And then we've gotten 500 over the last 6 months. So, my wife manages most of my social media now because she no longer works as a teacher. She works for me full time, or we work together full time, or or I work for her full time, whatever you want to say. It's one of those 3, definitely. But she was, frustrated because last night when we were out to dinner, I was like, we're getting more people than I ever have starting to follow me on all these different platforms, more and more, every day there's a handful. Now, remember, that may not sound like a lot, but I lost 10 years to health issues. You lose 10 years as an artist, you become irrelevant to the entire world. So I had a fan base of around 350,000, but I would assume that most think I'm dead. So, I've got to get back out there and kind of remind them that I'm still around and I'm still writing. But I had made that comment, and she's like, yeah, well, I'm just still really frustrated with it because we're not getting the engagement. People aren't liking it, aren't commenting. She's like, I'm throwing out, we're throwing out a question every single week. What do you feel about this? Or what do you, think about this or whatever? And she's like, and then we'll get one reply to it or two replies to it. I'm like, yes, yeah. And it's probably going to be that way for a while, but we're going to do
Guys,
whatever.
make Drake's wife happy. Make Mrs. Drake happy. Leave a comment down below about what you would like us to do for an episode in the future. Give us some suggestions in the comments.
Yeah. Well, to make her happy, you'd have to go to my social media and make comments.
This is your social media. What are you talking about?
Yeah, but my wife's not focusing on YouTube. That's us. But yeah, I'm just like, but it's consistency, because a year from now, 2 years from now, all this legwork that we're doing that feels like nothing is happening. I mean, when we started this, we'd be like, ooh, we got 11 views this month. And we're putting in all this effort and all this work, and we were literally getting nothing. And it was like we were screaming to a hurricane. No one heard us, no one knew us, no one cared. And we're still not like some, massive YouTube show, but we do have a loyal gathering of people who want to hear us discuss different topics and everything like that. And it's growing every single month. Like, we never shrink. So we're still in that upwards trajectory. But I think that's one of the biggest things that has been solidified with me. Again, I always knew that, but having done something where for the first year or two, it just felt like we were wasting our time, but keeping going with it and keeping at it and keeping it every week. Plus, I just enjoy spending a day with you every single week. But that is one of the things, I think, one of the big lessons that if you feel like you're doing something that just feels like nothing is happening, you might not have given enough time. Now, maybe there is a certain time, like maybe 10 years, 15 years into it, maybe whatever. But we also adjusted and changed too. We tried things out. We would do this, we would do that. We're still doing it. I mean, we've got a new format that we're going to roll out, not this episode because we're talking about the 200 stuff, but we're going to start rolling out this new format that we've kind of come up with, that we just came up with a couple weeks ago, of things that
we're going to change our thumbnails, and start putting our faces on the thumbnails and so on.
With some stupid expression. Because for some reason that seems to work.
It does, and it also makes sure that people realize that there are real people talking here. And
you're back.
Yeah. Okay.
You said there are real people.
So sorry. There are, it'll help people realize that there are real people doing this podcast, and it's not AI voices talking to each other, which is unfortunately becoming very prevalent.
Yeah.
On social media. So I mean, we do change sound, but it's also like I think you also made a very important comment there, in that it's fun.
Yeah.
I don't hate Thursdays. I don't like struggle to make myself available on Thursdays.
Right. So this month has been, if we had more in the can, I might have taken this month off, but I've got a stupid amount of deadlines at the end of this month, and it has nothing to do with that. It has to do with, this is 4 or 5 hours that I could be writing instead of doing this.
Look, this month has been rough because it's also been my Kickstarter month, so I am with you there.
Yep.
If we had more in the can, I would have taken this month off.
Yeah.
But that is a deadline driven situation.
Right. That's not we don't like hanging out with each other and talking about writing. And actually, that's the funny thing is, and I don't feel like I don't feel like our relationship is anything different than I have with any of my other friends or any that I've had in my life, just people hanging out and just goofing off. But that is the number one comment I think we get is the best thing I love about your show is just the chemistry between you and Marie, or Marie and you, however they say it. So it's I don't I'm not doing anything special for that, and I don't feel like you're doing anything special for that. We just genuinely enjoy just kind of sitting around talking
Yeah.
about this stuff. But I do have
I,
a follow-up to the consistency,
yeah.
is what is better than inspiration. Because this happened last night in the writer's room. Growth is hidden in repetition. So I actually took a moment last night because this one writer was like, you know, I doubt I'll ever be a good writer. And this is someone who's been in the writers group for 6, 7 months, and he is miles above where he was when he started. Like he's several of the people in the group last night were like, yeah, if we had a vote for, most improved writer, you would probably win it. So, but again, he's growing because he's hitting it every week. Every week he's there. Every week he's working. Every week he's trying to push himself to become a better writer. And so because of that repetition that he's doing, it kind of hides the fact that he's getting better. And so it's the same thing with us. I've gone back and watched some of our early episodes, and it's like, wow. Not that we're even still, I still don't think we're that good, of professional YouTubers. But we are way better than we were when we started this thing and we had no idea what was going on. So that's another thing
Yeah.
that's really come to my attention is that you do need to every once in a while take a step back and go, look at how far I've come from then. That's why one of my Drakeisms is always never, ever, ever compare yourself to another writer. You only want to compare yourself to yourself a month ago, or 6 months ago, or a year ago, whatever. Are you a better writer today than you were in, whatever increment you want to use, a month, 6 months, whatever? Then you're winning.
Yeah.
Writing is
100%.
like golf. In golf, you're not playing against anybody else. Yeah, the scores are there, and we'll have a winner. And it's the same thing with us. We have book sales, we have rating reviews and all of that. So there is a winner in that aspect of it. But the game that we play, we're our only competition. We are competing against ourselves to try and improve and get better, and just get a better score the next time. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, the score we have no control over. What is our star rating review and how many books we sell and all that. We have very, very little control over that. But no one does. Just like you don't have any control if you're playing golf with the other people's scores. It's not like football where I can hit you hard enough to make you, like when I was playing linebacker, my goal was not to stop a slot receiver from catching the ball. My goal was to hit him so hard that the next time he came across the middle, he was more concerned where I was than catching the ball. Because then he would usually not catch the ball. If he's really concerned, like, yeah, but where's Drake? Because that dude can hit. So, like, that's what I was more concerned with. I didn't care if you caught the ball. I just want to make sure after you caught that ball, you were like, ow, that hurt. Um, and so it's the same thing, or it's the opposite here. I could try harder and compete against other people when I was playing football. As a writer, you can't, you're competing at yourself. And so one of the things that I wanted to do with this 200 episode is for us just to take a step back and do that, just to kind of go, wow, we have actually gotten better at this thing. I don't think we're still really good at it, but we're better than we were. So
I think we've gotten a lot more structured about a lot of our discussions. And I think one of the, we prepare better for topics. We have a more structured approach to it and so on. I think we've learned better how to integrate kind of um, the things that pay the bills, like pitching our channels and the writers' rooms and books and so on and so forth.
hey, speaking of
So
that, new design for the
uh
Starving Writer Studio logo. It's available on
nice.
Starving Writer Studio. Little red eye. So anyway,
Um,
we have to make a
so
living.
we have to make a living, guys. Like it's not selling out when you're pitching your own products. Um, And so yeah, I mean, it's absolutely, I think we've dramatically improved. Is there still room for improvement? Of course, there's room for
Yeah.
improvement all the time in everything. So, but I think like we've done a lot of good things.
Yeah. Yeah. So what else? What are some other things that you feel that you've learned or you've grown? What are some milestones you feel that we've had over these last 5 years?
So I think like one of the major milestones was obviously both crossing the 1,000 subscribers on YouTube and um getting the downloads on podcasts to hit the monetization limits there as well. Like, not to say that monetization is everything, and neither of us are expecting this podcast to pay our bills, but what it does do is say that we have achieved sufficient audience that the platforms that we are on consider us worth rewarding,
Yeah.
you know, which is, I mean, it is a milestone worth celebrating, even though it's, small amounts and whatever. Like, that's not entirely the point.
Yeah.
Most podcasts, most YouTube channels, they never get
Yes,
there.
as small as we are, it's crazy because I don't know, have the exact stats in front of us, but I think we're like in the top 5% or top 3%, or
Yeah.
like it's a very small, even though like we're literally as obscure as you can get,
Mm.
there's still so many that are there that you'll never see, never know of, never run across. There's not a great way. I guess it's because there's probably the content on like YouTube has got to be mind blowing, and they don't really have a good browsing system because it's supposedly this allegory that's feeding you what it thinks that you're going to want. But is it doing that, or is it also feeding you the things that's going to make it money? So
So
yes, you'll want it, but I'm going to make
yeah,
money off of it.
yeah. So it depends. It depends a little bit. The algorithm is kind of like, it depends on what you've liked and what you've viewed and what you've viewed to the end and all the rest of that jazz. But yeah, I mean, a lot of videos are simply, they simply sink into obscurity, and the same for podcasts, right? Especially if the content creators don't keep at it, because you
Yeah.
have to, like you said, consistency, consistency, consistency. I mean, and it can get painful to hit that, like, well, that's time to upload another video for the week.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially like
uh,
I said, when it feels like you're screaming at a hurricane.
yeah.
I mean, it just feels worthless. It feels a little bit degrading. Like I'm trying this thing, I'm trying to give somebody something, but it's the same thing as a writer. You know, when you get out there and you write a book and you sell 8 copies, like it feels rough. But again, you're not going to make it big with one book. You know, people ask me all the time, okay, I just wrote a book. What's the best thing I can do to sell that book? And my answer is always the same. Write your next book. That's the best thing you can do to sell the first book, is get a second one out. And the best thing you can do to sell both those books is get a third one out. Get 4 or 5 out, and then you'll start having the ability to start marketing and doing some things like that. But it's consistency. It's getting products out. It's standing up in that hurricane and screaming at the top of your lungs, because eventually someone will hear you. And then that'll amplify your voice, and then more will hear you, and that will amplify your voice, and more will hear you, and you'll keep going that way. But you got to stand and scream at a hurricane for longer than what you probably should have to do. But that's where that consistency comes into. And so that's the big thing that it's solidified with me. And again, it literally happened in my life last night when me and my wife were out to dinner. You know, it was because she's brand new to this. Like, yes, she's been my wife for 25 years, and she's the whole time I've been in this career. It's actually funny because every once in a while, she'll be like, well, you do this thing. I'm like, well, it's your fault. You married an artist. And she's like, no, I married a guy who owned a multi-million-dollar computer company. I married a businessman. I did not marry an artist. And I'm like, yeah, that's true. So I do feel bad sometimes, but you know, it's you know, it's new to her, and so she's just now feeling the effects of standing in that hurricane and screaming and going, "This sucks. No one can hear me. Why am I doing this?" And I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, it's the way it is. Now keep screaming." So,
And I mean, that is unfortunately, with the amount of content out there, that is just, it is what it is,
yeah,
Like,
it just takes time. It's one of the reasons why I think both of us gravitated to each other, because we both, and I know people hate this word, but we both can use each other to help us in our careers. Um, but that is a part of it. That is what we're doing here. Every little thing, now that Releasing Your Inner Dragons as size it is, there isn't a month go by that I don't pick up new book sales, new writers room members, new Drake U class, students,
mm,
new fiction readers. You just don't. Now it's not many, it's a couple here, a couple there. Like it's so crazy because my website is now getting, and it's going to sound like nothing, but it's now getting like 10 to 20 visitors a day. And after 10 years of health issues, I would go months and not get 10 visitors to my website. So 10 to 20 a day after me, really for the last year, I've been healthy enough to really start grinding again and getting all this stuff. That's actually, I'm pretty happy with that, even though it feels like it's a very small number, especially considering to where I was before I lost my health. But it's the process. It's still the same thing. It's still you got to build it. You got to scream into that hurricane.
and I think that is a very important lesson for everybody to take away from this is like, yeah, we all want to make it big and we all want to, all that, but you have to build your audience, and
Yeah.
it is a slow, hard process.
Yeah. And it does depend on how much money you have. Like I just met with a marketer this week that I'm probably going to end up hiring. So bringing on an actual professional,
Mm.
marketing firm. It's not cheap, but if marketing works, for every 20% you put into it, you get 80% back, if it is doing its job. Now, whether it does its job is always a crapshoot, but I feel pretty good about this because
Mm.
the guy is a huge nerd, and so it's really nice to have a nerd marketing another nerd.
Yeah.
So because then he actually cares about the product, he cares about the culture, he cares about the people that he's not just some marketer that's just like, you write fantasy, is that like sex? Like, no, no, it's not like sex. It's like, he's like, oh, it's that dragons and dungeons stuff. I'm like, yeah, I don't know why I'm giving a New York marketer a Louisiana accent, but whatever. It's about the same level of knowledge in the geek world. Um, so that was really nice.
Mm.
But again, that's going to cost me money.
Yeah. And that's the
So
thing. Like if you don't have the money to spend on marketing, like I don't have money to spend on marketing. All right. Um, then what you have to do is you have to build your own audience.
yep.
So, and to build your own audience, consistency, consistency, consistency. There's no
But
other way to
marketing's
do
the
it.
same way. Marketing's the same way. It's
Yeah.
still about consistency. That's the big thing that you really have to, and it's the same thing about production. You got to sit down once a week and write, or once a day and write, or once every 2 days and write, or I think you have like 3 time slots a week where you've blocked out, or maybe 4 time slots a week where you blocked out where you write.
Yeah.
Whatever. Consistency. And that's the thing that's been hard with me with my health issues. I haven't been able to fall into that really good consistency.
So I think one of the big things that has changed for you over these 4 years is that when I met you, you wanted to write the movie script, and now you have.
Yeah.
Like you've
Be, care-
wrote a greenlit movie script.
be careful what you wish for, I guess, is the warning for that. No, it's an insane amount of money, which is great. Um, but yeah, no, but the reason I never wanted to get into Hollywood for the sake of getting into Hollywood. I mean, it'd be cool to have a movie made and have that, but writers of movies do not get any real play. I mean, like in Deadpool 1, in the credits, he's picking on everybody, like the overpaid, guy, which is the producer, and you know, the overhyped guy is the director and all that. And then it gets to the one where it says the two writers of the movie, and their title is The Real Heroes of This Movie. But I guarantee you, not 5% of the people who watch that movie know who wrote that movie. It's just not. So I'm definitely not doing it for brand recognition or anything like that. Whereas as a novelist, your name's on the cover. Like it's you are the brand. So I'm not doing it for that. The only reason why I'm doing it is because the money is just stupid. It's just stupid. And this is just public information. You can go Google this stuff, because it's the Writers Guild of America. Because when I talk to people, they're like, well, what do you mean by stupid? And I'm like, well, how much do you think a first-time scriptwriter would get paid with no experience, no credits, no nothing? What is the minimum that they can pay them if the movie has more than a $5 million budget? Which anything less than that is a low budget movie. And they're like, I don't know. I'm like, what would you think would be a really good pay? They're like, I don't know, $50,000. I'm like, yes, you're 100% right. $171,000 minimum. That is the WGA minimum that a script writer can make. So, and then, that's the minimum. So it goes up from there. But you're talking about like the movies that I'm writing right now have a $90 million budget. So 171,000 to a $90 million budget is nothing.
Yeah.
Whereas the biggest of big publishing books, they might spend $250,000 on them. And that includes well, let's say they spend $500,000 on them, and that includes the advance to the author. So it's like, and I mean, not like some New York Times bestseller that's already said, obviously Brandon Sanderson, they're going to put more into marketing and they're going to pay him more in his advance check. But, somebody that just comes out of the gate and the publishing industry, for whatever reason, is super hot on them, like maybe they might spend 500 grand on everything. And that includes production, printing, shipping, marketing, author advance, the whole 9 yards.
And as
Most don't
somebody
even
who's
touch
just
that.
been through who's been through planning this for Kickstarter, let me tell you, a lot more goes into printing the book, doing the layout, freaking getting everything else together than what
Yeah.
ultimately ends up like in the author's pocket.
Yeah. But still, the cost is minuscule compared to Hollywood. So the biggest reason why I always wanted to get into Hollywood is because if I got to the point where I'm writing one movie script every year or two for them, I can have the freedom and flexibility to do whatever I want as a novelist and pursue other passions of mine. And so it really is just that I kind of see it as the day job to help me support my hobby of being a novelist.
I will say though, from the discussions that we've had about like this process of writing the script, that it doesn't sound like yes, sure, there's a certain amount of fun to writing, but having people come and say, "But I need you to do this." Okay, but that's stupid. It wrecks the story. Yes, but
Literally
I
makes no
want it.
sense. Yeah. Yeah, this isn't this one, but one that I was working on in the past. The producer called me up, and I'm literally almost done with the script, and it's a sci-fi action adventure thing with blood and guts and terror and all this stuff. And he's like, "Hey, I need you to figure out how to work in a scene that has a 3-year-old baby in it." And I'm like, "What?" Like, yeah, there's a guy that wants to invest in the movie. His daughter's pregnant, and so I'm figuring we'll be in shoot in 3 years. So, he won't invest unless his grandbaby is in the movie. And I'm like, what? Like, I don't even know what to say to this. It's crazy some of the stuff that you have to deal with in there. I really do want to just put a gun to my head and pull the trigger sometimes. Um, that's where you just
Makes you
have to
have a little
go.
bit of
Well, that's where you have to just take a step back and go, money, 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 money. Because it hurts my artist soul, the things that come down the pipe, that it's
Mm.
just like, and then it's even worse because after you do all that suffering and everything like that, then they give it to some dude that comes in out of nowhere and goes, yeah, but I know your story better than you, so I'm going to do it my way. And it's like, ow. It's just painful. Again,
Makes want to have some sympathy for like that.
yeah. Again, there's a lot of money, 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 money.
Yeah.
Because it's it's a lot of it's a lot of stupid work.
Yeah.
It's not hard work. Hard work would be one thing. You can just deal with hard work and whatever. It's stupid work. And that's just painful.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, so I think I certainly have very much enjoyed making 200 episodes. So I hope that you, our audience, have enjoyed listening to us yap for 200 episodes. And I'm looking forward to another 200.
I mean, there's so much about the writing world to talk about. And even though we've covered a lot of the topics, even, we talk about this all the time. It's like, well, we've covered that 7 times, but we never talked about it in this way. So yeah, let's do an episode on that.
Mm.
Because there's always different ways to look at things and different ways to explore things. And again, what I said earlier was, when I teach, one of the things that's helped me is trying to figure out different ways to teach the same thing over and over again for different people. So, maybe we talk about interiority in 10 episodes, but it's not until the 9th episode that somebody is like, oh, this now makes sense to me, as opposed to the first 8 ways, because we're all different.
Yeah.
We all take information in different, we all learn different, different things hit us at different times. So yeah, it's amazing that we've been able to do this for so long and still feel, I mean, at least me, I feel like we've just scratched the surface.
Yeah, I think we have a lot still to cover and to talk about and to explore. And I think that is a great note on which to end our 200th episode. And we will see you soon for another one.
Bye.
If you are ready to take your writing to the next level and work with a group of highly motivated, dedicated writers who are all working to not only improve their writing, but improve your writing, plus you get to work with me on a weekly basis, then I'll encourage you to check out writersroom.us. This is a website that I have created that I really wish I had 30 years ago. It's everything a writer needs to become a better writer. Not only do we do weekly critique sessions, both from other members as well as me, we have daily writing sessions, I do monthly classes, Q&As, we have activities, I do all sorts of learning exercises, such as I do a quarterly writing prompt contest, and just tons and tons and tons of things. So if you're ready to get serious about your writing and you want to actually finish that novel and have a chance of it being published, then I encourage you to head on over to the Writer's Room and join me there. And as a special promotion for listeners of Releasing Your Inner Dragon, I'll go one step more. If you would like to get 50% off for 3 months, reach out to me. There's a million ways you can do that. You can do it through StarvingWriterStudio.com, DrakeU.com, any of my social medias such as LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, X, whatever. Reach out to me, say that you would like to check out the Writer's Room for 50% off, and I will send you a link that will allow you to do just that. So hopefully you're ready to start getting serious about writing, and I'll see you in the Writer's Room.
Thank you for tuning in. This is Marie Mullaney, your co-host on this literary adventure. Our goal is to provide you with valuable insights and discussions on writing. If you believe in our mission, please like and subscribe our podcast. Sharing our episodes with your community not only helps us grow, but also contributes to a richer, more diverse conversation about storytelling. We appreciate your support.
For a deeper understanding of the topics we've discussed, head over to Just in Time Worlds on YouTube. It is a treasure trove where fantasy meets history and science. Every Tuesday, you'll find new videos that delve into the intricacies of world building, drawing from our rich real-world history. Whether you're a writer, a role player, or just a fantasy enthusiast, Just in Time Worlds offers unique insights that will enrich your perspective. Check it out and join the journey of crafting incredible worlds.